The wind blew upon the ships. It blew them about upon the ocean, and it blew them to the east and west and north and south. The ships congregated into 4 fleets, 34 ships into each fleet except 2 ships which were carried in a fleet to themselves. And in 150 days from the beginning of the flood, the ships were brought into their respective places, so landed they in the different countries of the world. The fleet named Guatama was carried to the eastward, and the country whither it landed was also called Guatama, or America. From this place did the chosen spread out north and south, inhabiting the lands to the east or west as far as the sea. In time they would become testimony of this landing place from the continent of Atlantis. The fleet named Jaffeth was driven to the westward and north, landing in the country called China. The fleet called Shem travelled west and south, landing in the land Vindhu, which we now know as India. Meanwhile, the fleet named Ham travelled westwards and landed in the country we now call Arabia. The fleet of 2 ships carried to the north was named Yista. They didn't travel as far as the other fleets. Instead, they landed in what had been the mountainous country in the north of Atlantis. The land had been cleaved in 2. They named the country in the old tongue Japan, meaning from Pan. This same country that to this day is still called Japan, signifying the relict of the continent of Pan, otherwise called Atlantis. The Ihins began to establish themselves in the countries where they had landed. They were told to preserve the names of the rites and ceremonies, and especially the names of land and water, and the firmament above, and ships that plough the water, and all sounds whatever that people make in the throat and without the tongue and lips, to preserve also peace and righteousness and industry. For it would be a testimony in the later times of the earth of the presence of the hand of the Creator, the Great Spirit. They were told not to mingle with the Magnans, for they were without understanding and were not heirs to everlasting life. This race, this seed, was to people the earth over in all the divisions thereof. And so that generations for thousands of years afterwards may know this work, they were given a sign, which is a covenant to them and their heirs forever. This was the symbol of a crescent, in the form of a rainbow. And whatsoever people bear this sign, it shall be as a remembrance to a covenant. And in all these countries they made images of stone and copper, with engravings of the children of Noah, and we of the flood, and of the sacred tribes. Thus it is that almost all peoples in different parts of the world have in their traditions and folklore the legend of the flood. So it would also be a testimony as to the deluge, in a later era, that there would be discovered the sunken land of Atlantis, which was actually called Pan, that people may comprehend the magnitude of this undertaking.